Okay, we have put together our composition for our theme design. Now we're going to do some theme design practice using our thick and thin flare markers that you have in your package. So you're going to need to get both of those out. You have this worksheet, so please get that out. We're going to start with cross hatching. You've done a lot of this already, but we're just going to do this together. We're going to start with cross hatching, and we're going to pick an angle and we're going to stick to it. I'm going to use my thicker marker for this particular one. I'm going to start out at a diagonal, and I'm just going to pick that angle, and I'm just going to start hatching away. And the one thing about hatching is you can go as many different directions as you feel necessary. The darker that you want it, the more closer you're going to put the lines. You can also, the darker that you want it, you can go different directions. So it's kind of up to you what you want it to look like. But this is going to be cross hatching, so I still have to go back over and do another angle. So I am going to just tilt my paper a little bit to make it easier on myself. And here I go. I'm going to do my second angle. And you can see it's getting much darker. I'm liking this value a lot better. All depends on what you're trying to achieve and what value you're trying to achieve as to how dark you want it. So there's my first one. There's my cross hatching. Okay, and this image would show up much better with this value than it would dark or light. The next one I'm going to do is a positive negative. Now we have not done this one yet, but I'm going to keep a piece of scrap paper handy so I can avoid smears. So I'm just getting a piece of scrap paper because I do not want to smear my ink. Once I smear my ink, it will not come up. So I am going to outline the KC here. And everything behind the KC, I am going to color black. And you can see how to do that. That's pretty easy there. Now then, notice I've went around my letters to make sure to keep them nice and clean. And I want to avoid making it a rough edge. I want it to be nice and clean. So that's why I've outlined. That helps a lot. And also, moving your paper upside down, move it sideways, wherever is easiest for you to do this project, okay? Whatever angle you like to work at. So, here's my KC. Now, up on the crown, let's go ahead and get this all colored in here. So up on the crown, maybe I want to do a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and outline. And let's say that I don't want it to be all black and white. Okay. Maybe I can have just a little bit of line variation there on the top of my circles of my crown. And maybe I'm just going to, instead of shading it all in and doing the positive negative, I'm just going to have it be a different value, and I am going to shade it in with a hatching. Okay, the next one, line variation, the shoe. We just did this, okay? This should be very easy for you. So let's go ahead and we're just gonna, you already know how to do, you've done this one before. So this should be easy peasy. You have it in your sketchbook. Take a look at it. You're gonna make darker lines or thicker lines where the shadows might be, and underneath of any object or any shoelace or wherever it might be darker, okay? Or to make things stand out. I'm going to color in that. Maybe I'm going to put some hatching right here on the back of that shoe to make sure that this stands out. Underneath each shoelace, it's going to be darker. Okay, again, we've done this. This is a review for you. This is the exact same shoe that we've done. So you should be amazing at this. Now, we also talked about adding a little bit of texture, okay, to make it look more three-dimensional. So add yourself a little bit of hatching there. A little hatching on the toe. Maybe it needs a little bit of hatching underneath so this does not look like it's floating. And then again, I have this one. I'm going to kind of make that stand out. This one's the easy one. You've already done this one. Okay, let's do the stippling. So we're going to start off, and I don't want to make this, I want this ball to look round. So let's start with these darker areas, and I'm going to make these dark on the outside. So I am making my stippling closer together on the outside edge of this shape. And then I'm going to gradually pull them apart and make them further apart as I come in closer to this, the middle of this shape. Okay, I'm going to do that to this one. I'm going to do that to this one. Okay, and when we get done, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so go ahead and complete that one. Okay, let's come down here to a line variation with a ballpoint pen. Grab your ballpoint pen. If you do not have one, see if you can find one. Pause the video and start one. The reason that I like to use the ballpoint pen is because you get a lighter texture. It's not so bold. It's not so harsh. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to start off and just give this guy some texture in his hair. I'm kind of using a little bit of scumbling, actually. And the scumbling is like a scribble, if you remember. I'm going to scribble, 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 scumble, scumble, scumble. And I want to put some little texture in there. And where I want it darker, I'm going to go back over top of it and do another layer of my scumble, just so it gets a little bit more three-dimension. Maybe down here on the sides, a little bit more here towards the face. And then I'm going to come in, a little bit of line variation underneath the ear on the outside of this chin. Okay, there's an overlap. Make a little indentation there on the chin. Okay, maybe on this side of the neck it's going to be a little bit thicker. Under the nose, let's do the nose. The nose becomes sometimes the hardest part. I want to put a little bit of thicker line here, just on one side. Do the nostrils, and maybe just a little bit there. The lip, let's do the lip. The lip line, we need to make that, exaggerate that a little bit. And then the bottom lip, of course, we're going to have a little bit thicker line because there's where most of our shadow is going to be. So let's go ahead and do that. Maybe we have a little cleft here in his nose. I'm going to outline the eyes and maybe put them in a little bit. Okay, make those stand out a little bit more than what you can see. I'm going to put some texture, kind of like a little scribble texture on the eyebrows. Okay, this ear needs to be a little bit defined, so I'm going to come back here. That's overlap, so I'm going to put a little bit of line variation there. Get on the neck. So now let's come in and let's shade a little bit of the face with this. Okay, this is going to be a little bit more defining to make it look like more three-dimensional. And I'm just very lightly using some hatching on the left side of his face. I'm going to do a little bit darker where the hollow of his cheek would be. A couple different areas. He's going to have a little bit of texture and shading underneath his eye and on the side of his nose up through his eye socket there. He will have the same thing on the other side. up in his eye socket. Maybe not as much. This is more the shadows on this side. Okay, do a little bit more here where the cheek hollows out. Then I'm really going to do something on the bottom of this neck because we're definitely going to have it. It's going to be dark down there. So I'm going to kind of really bump up that line variation around the outside of the neck and underneath of the chin. And then I can kind of play around with the shirt. Just kind of give it a little bit of texture. Maybe a little bit more on the side of this head. Okay, so that looks much more three-dimensional compared to the line drawing. Okay, last one. Let's go to the hatching one. So, first of all, I want this to look like a different value. I have the handle, I have the silver portion of the brush, and then I have the bristles. Well, I'm going to start down here with the bristles. I'm going to use my thicker marker, and I'm just doing some hatching, moving upward, darker on the bottom. I'm going to do a thick outline on the left side of my brush to give it a little bit more three-dimensional quality. Okay, I'm going to come in here, and this is going to be a hole. I might just kind of do a little bit of line variation there. I'm going to do some hatching, just so the value is different from the handle of the brush compared to the ferrule, which is the silver thing that's going to be down here. So I'm going to outline that so it stands out really well. Okay, and then back in here, I can kind of come in and just do a little different hatching, go in the different direction. Make this look like a reflection. I might want to color some of it in. I want this to look like it's different from the brush value and different from the bristles. Okay, so let's talk about one more thing here. Let's say that this is an image that you have drawn on your theme design and the background is really, really detailed. Okay, this is where, let's say that you have like a pattern back here. This is where we would draw an outline around, okay, our image. And let's say that our pattern was a swirly pattern, okay, some kind of a random, something like this. So if I had this particular pattern right up against my paintbrush, it's going to get very busy. So this is what I'm talking about when you do your pattern and you have a busy pattern next to an object that has a lot of values. We can leave a white edge in between those two. Okay, so this is the demonstration for the theme design practice worksheet. I hope you worked along with me, and when you come back, we will be doing this to our final draft.